Well, we told you at the top of the show that we had a great lineup, and we do. We got such a diverse array of personalities today. It's really great. And our next presenter is no exception. He was in the fire control services for 40 plus years. He started trading futures on his off days 40 years ago. He has a great presentation full of brand new cutting edge material. Ladies and gentlemen, here to present Discipline Manager is Mr. Steven Tremper of Tremper.com. Welcome back to Traders Corner, Steve.
Hi there. Sounds like Anthony. It doesn't sound like Rob. So, hi, Anthony.
Yeah, it's me, Anthony.
All right, how are you? You should be able to see my mouse moving around here on the screen.
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, thanks a lot. Well, I haven't been in the fire service 40 years. I've been in the fire service 40 years, but I haven't traded all that future time. So it wasn't only until about maybe 12 years ago. So make me sound a lot older than I am.
A lot more experience. Sorry.
So basically, thanks again for having me here. And I hope my intent here is just to help other traders overcome the same struggles that I've had and still have. Dealing with discipline, it seems to be a common thing and phase here. Everybody talks about psychology and whatnot. So hopefully, this is just another tool that they could use that I created for myself because I needed discipline. So I created a manager. So in any event, so summary, my intent is just to kind of show you what it is, and you can decide if you even need it at all. And then I'll show you how to establish some rules within the discipline manager, some of the settings that you have the ability to change, tweak and change. And then I'll give you some examples of what will happen if you breach your limits, and then I'll show you where to download it. You can play around with it, and today's special. And then if there's any questions and answers, typically in the settings section of it, I will more than happy to go over any kind of questions that you have. But first of all, who am I? So as I said earlier, I'm Steve. I've been in the fire service 40 whatever years, and I retired in 19. I started playing around with options and the forex and stuff like that. God, probably 12, 14 years ago, something like that. And then it wasn't probably maybe 8, 10 years ago, I kind of fell into futures. Not quite sure how I got into that, just surfing around the web, I guess. And then I started looking at that, and that just seemed to be a better fit. So that's, and I haven't looked back. So futures is my thing, and that's what I like, particularly NASDAQ, because I'm a adrenaline junkie. So that's just a picture of me at the exchange. I was there as a visitor. I was not working there. I never did. I wish I had, but needless to say, that's who I am, and that's I by no means do I want to come across as some expert. And I know a lot of people that are in this webinar have a lot more experience than I do, but I'm just a regular, normal trader, just me. And I just have some tools here that Ninja approached me long ago that people might be interested in. And as it turns out, years later, there are a lot of people that have. Funny thing is, the same issues that I had. So a lot of my tools that I have on my site were built specifically for me. They're ones that I wanted that I couldn't find anywhere, so I did it. And one being, it wasn't my first, but this was my second, the discipline manager, and that was one of the things that I had. So those are all available on the site. So anyway, a little requirement, as far as the government thing. Basically, I'm not telling you where to trade or anything, so I don't really need to go over this, I don't think, and you do it anyway. If anything, the discipline manager is going to stop you from trading. So the way I look at it, I typically don't need this, but I'm just going to show it on here anyway. Money management statistics, I think you all probably already know, 90% of traders, fail, they'll lose or go to break even, and a very small percentage of them actually make money consistently. And you can define how much money that is, because there's all kinds of, now with the micros, you got to have a lot smaller goals that you're looking for. So it's all available to everybody's individual risk tolerance. Psychology, emotions, the hope, fear, regrets, all that has I've had all of it, and you can't tell me that you don't. And you know, the lack of trading constitutes all of the above. So it's just trading, having a plan and a management plan, and that's where, you know, again, that's where the discipline manager comes in. It kind of helps you kind of keep you on your toes. You could just Google any of these statistics, so it's not like there's a hidden formula here. Why do they fail? Well, you know, failure to nip your losses. Over trading, that was one of my big issues, and I still have that when I'm, you know, down. I'm trying to, you know, the trying to get the revenge, I guess, trying to get back at least to break even when I get into that scenario. Fear of missing out, and then waiting for the trade, and that, to me, I think is, again, I'm an adrenaline junkie, so it's so hard just to sit there and wait and watch and stare at the screen. And that's my worst 4-letter word, is wait. And so you have to master the ability to wait. You have to, you know, have the self-control to get your trades and only your trades. Don't be making trades up, or I call it the board trade. You're bored, so you just say, well, I'll go long and see what happens. You really don't want to do that, and you just have to, you know, we're not traders, we're waiters, and that's what we have to do. And it's just so frustrating, and you know, here I am waiting on a possible setup. I just can't stress it enough. It's just so boring, and that's kind of led me into the algos, you know, more and more over the last few years. I've got one that I'm building for myself, which again is available if anyone wants to play with it. We call it Helix, because I had two strategies. One was an indicator, and the other one was a strategy, and we married them together, and hence, you know, all the DNA in there, what's came up with the double helix, and then we just dropped the double, and so that's where the Helix kind of came to be. But that's available out there. It's an ongoing. I don't think it's ever going to be, you know, 100% totally ready, but it at least trades for me, so I could put on. I can get to the spots where I want to focus on. I can make the colors to go ahead and paint the backgrounds, give me audibles when I'm there. And then in the auto mode, it'll actually take the trades for me based on my setups. And I've worked with a lot of people helping, you know, tweak their setups and get it fine tuned and then test it and play around with it. And it's just made it so much easier for me just to click a single button, knowing that my rules have been met up. But that's here nor there. So getting back to the discipline manager, though, the psychology of discipline, the psychology to follow the rules, and that's just it. You know, the manager, you have your rules set up, and whatever they are, they're yours. And if you break your rules, well, then you might want to go relook at them over the weekend and see if there's some tweaking that needs to be done in the rules. But needless to say, as it stands right now, those are your rules, and if you bust them, then you want to stop, or it's going to make you stop, because it's the manager. It's going to tap you on the shoulder and say, that's it. So you need, you know, you don't want to get out too quickly, so you have to hold, but on the other hand, you don't want to hold too long and give it all back, and then you skip trades because you're you fear of losing again. I've been through all of that, and I think most of us has, and that's how somebody once came up with this sentence down here that I just love, and I can't remember who it was that did it, but a discipline manager cannot help you with your psychology, but will help you with your discipline, and that will then lead to a healthier psychology. So again, it's kind of hand in hand. You have to be disciplined to get the psychology, but you have to have a little psychology too. So you've got to be able to control the losses, whether your average winning day, whatever that is, you know, don't lose more, you know, on a bad day. You've heard the adage, you know, surrender to the fight, but not the battle. So, you know, there's been days you just have to say, enough is enough. I can't take it anymore. I'll just deal with it tomorrow and hope for the best and just walk away, because sometimes it just doesn't go in your especially with NASDAQ. It's like ADD on steroids. So it's sometimes you just got to leave it alone. Everybody has different account sizes. So, you know, 1% loss limit on a $5,000 account is not the same as trading a $5,000 account on a micro contract. So everybody has their position sizing that you still have to deal with. I mean, that's another part of the trading plan that you have to do and feel comfortable with. But, you know, again, going back to control of the losses, Warren Buffett once said, rule number one, never lose money. And rule number two, never forget about rule number one. And I thought that's so important because you got to protect capital. I mean, that's first and foremost. Of the choices, you can have a big win, you can have a small win, you can have a small loss, but it's those big losses that just really kind of eat you up. And eliminating those will result in a better psychology and discipline. And that's how I started, just to take small little stops. And if I get popped out, well, then I just reevaluate, maybe wait to get it a little deeper, or I'll get back in again. I mean, it's only a few bucks, so it's not the end of the world. So you have to stop the stop losses and ATMs. I don't know many people that don't have it. Stops, that is. You know, nobody really knows I mean, you could look at charts and things like that and risk and reward ratios, but really nobody knows where it's going to stop. I mean, you could always determine your risk by your stops and how much you're willing to give based on your position sizing, based on your account, etc. So that's fine. But then where is it going to go? How many times have I seen, you know, targets get hit and it just keeps on going? It's like, you don't know. You have an idea where it might be going and you hope that it gets there. And if it gets to that you know, target zone, as I call it, because I actually have an indicator called target zone, but who could really, you know, pinpoint to the tick where that zone's going to be to get out, right? How many times does it come almost to your target and then just dropped and came back? So that's why I created I have a zone where I can put a zone on there and say anything in the zone I'm fine with. If it goes to my true target, then great. But if it gives up, you know, X amount of ticks, then it's good enough for me. I'm in my zone. I'm happy. So the risk side of the trade is the only thing that you can really manage, and that's the stop losses and good risk management based on your account size. And you really don't want to get, so I shouldn't say you don't ever want to move your stops to adjust them, but you know, I feel it's better to get out and reevaluate and then decide what's happening, kind of let it marinate a little bit, and then get back in if you feel comfortable. But moving it back a little bit, you know, no problem at all, you know, a little here or there, but you don't want to just go back so far that you'll just get underwater, like doubling down kind of thing, or adding on. I don't really buy into that. You know, if it's really going against you, add on, and then you'll make it back sooner. So that's kind of a recipe for disaster. So, you know, don't get caught up in revenge trading is another one, but you don't want to give up. There's been many times, or there was a time years ago, I'm getting rid of all my indicators, getting rid of everything, and I'm starting fresh like I know nothing. And I started basically from scratch. I just pretended that I didn't know anything, and I did all the homework and listened to all the videos of all the experts and all that business and courses that I had, and I just was in essence starting all over again, because I just knew that it's just a matter of time. So how many times you get somewhere and you give up just because you can't do it, and you're so close. And I've seen it in trading. You know, you get out, you just can't handle it anymore, and you look back 5-10 minutes later, and sure enough, it went where you wanted it to go. So this is, you know, here's your equity curve, you know, experience. You know, looks like fun. I have no idea what I'm doing. This is really hard. And as you get a little experience, you're like, okay, I can kind of get this, or it comes back down a little bit, and then you're like, okay, I could actually get this. So, you know, there's the equity curve and the psychology end of it. So anyway, moving on from there, then you have to protect yourself from you. And you can do that with your own personal trading manager, and that's where the discipline manager actually came to be. And you have to picture it like everybody tells you have your own trading business. You are the CEO of your trading business. So you have to delegate your rules to the discipline manager or a manager. If you're the CEO, you discipline your discipline manager is the one I guess in the real world, like on, you know, the safety department and all that, or just the manager in general. You delegate what you want to the manager, and then it is their job to, you know, to monitor the employees, which in this case happens to be you also. So you really have to change hats. You're the CEO, and you're going to hire a manager to deal with your rules that you want as the CEO and your targets, et cetera, et cetera. And then your discipline manager is going to allow your trading employee, which happens to be you on a Monday morning, to go ahead and follow these rules. And if you don't, the manager is going to be there to kind of stop you. So if your trading employee gets out of line, then your discipline manager will control your company's losses. So when you evaluate it over the weekend, you can reevaluate it and look at it and tweak if you have to, but see what went wrong, or maybe it was just a given day, et cetera. At the following meeting, you evaluate and tweak, but you don't want to be tweaking, like in the middle of the day. That's what market replay is for. That's what, practice is for. And you already know some of your rules anyway. So when you're actually in the heat of the moment, you're not, if you get popped out, then you should just be done with it. So setting up your management rules. The discipline manager is designed to allow you to set up your own hard daily and weekly drawdown limits along with your goals. And if your hard drawdown limits are hit, then you're done for the day or the week, depending on which rules have been breached. And then new trades are not allowed after that point. And once your daily or weekly goal is hit, then you can continue to trade, but you never want to give back more than whatever your percentage is. There are some people that say 0%. When I hit my goal, I'm done. I'm not going to give back anything. And you could put 0 in there. And if you want to give back, if you want to play with maybe 50%, you can go ahead and say, I hit my goal, and so now those rules are now in effect, and I'm only going to play with 50% of my winnings. And if you want to change that percentage, then you can go to level 2. So this is called your dynamic drawdown. It's based on your account high for the given day and the week. It moves proportionately. And then there's warning boxes that'll be displayed when your thresholds are breached. So if you have a warning set, it will give you a 15-minute timeout, kind of like a circuit breaker at the stock exchange. So if you're a certain percentage of your loss, you have $1,000, let's say, for your drawdown, and 50% of that's been lost already at $500. Now you're negative $500. Well, it's going to give you a timeout. It'll give you a 15-minute timeout. It'll give you a time display on there. And it'll say, you're in a timeout. I don't think it says timeout exactly, but I just use that for kids. And so go get some coffee, go walk around the block, do something, shake it off, come back with a different mindset, and let's try it again. And now you can go the rest of the way. As far as resetting, the discipline manager, there was much discussion regarding creating a reset, allowing the user to override their own rules. Some people suggested that we have a password that they can't access, like a key. Somebody said they can give it to their spouse, and then they can control when they're able to reset. Anyway, so it was realized that you're the owner of your own trading business, and that you as the CEO should be able to make those final decisions. And so that said, if you opt to reset it, then the discipline manager, it does require, it's not easy. It's not a matter of just pressing a quick button and resetting it. There's a reset button down at the bottom, but it doesn't take an effect immediately. There's, a few things you have to, close everything down, relaunch, come back up, fire everything back up, re-get connected. So it's not like it's going to happen in 2 seconds. So hopefully you'll get past that revenge trade period of time. But again, you are the CEO. So if you want to fire the discipline manager or just slap them around and reset it, you could do that. And here's the reset button in the bottom right-hand corner. It says reset. When the rules are not set, it'll say apply. And then you set your rules and you hit apply it. And then once you apply, then turns to the reset. So you can see that it's reset there. But you really don't want to do that in the middle of the day. You really have to kind of, hey, those are my rules. That's what I did. Let me stick to it. And at the end of the trading day, or whenever you're done, you can reevaluate and say, okay, is that fair? Is that are my rules true? Is that what I'm looking for? How could I tweak it? So this is not an indicator. It is placed and incorporated into your Ninja, but it runs in the background in a separate window if you prefer to even keep it open. You don't have to, but if you want to see like performances or something like that down at the bottom, you can do that. But it's not even necessary to be on. If you turn it off one day and come on the next, it'll just be there for you. and you don't even have to, you know, kind of you don't have to turn it on. It's already on. It's on based on your account. So an example. So let's talk about these rules here. So let's assume you set your drawdown warning for $350 and your halt is set for 500. So that means you go negative 350. As I mentioned, you got that little timeout. And then at $500 negative, you're done. You'll get a pop-up that says, you know, you're done for the day kind of thing. And once you close an order, so for instance, if you had 2 orders on and you close one and you breach it, but the other one is still open, if that one closes and you're breached, then you're done, but it won't close it for you unless you have that check to close all orders, then you're done. And so that will, if you do go under the 350, it's going to trigger the circuit breaker. You'll just get that warning that says, you know, trading is halted until such and such a time. It says right there, 311, 49 seconds. So, you know, it's 15 minutes and then you can come back to it. And you just kind of deal with it. If you get the halt after your 15 minutes timeout, you come back and you continue to trade. And now you've breached your $500 mark. Well, you're done. At that point, you're not allowed to trade anymore. And that's it. You know, you got to wait till the next day. And there's a little pop-up that shows you, hey, you're halted. Your rule's been breached, and now you're able to trade on the next day. So the goals. Let's talk about the happier side of it. So goals. So let's say you now hit your goals, and you're going to get the congratulations. These are not really errors. These are an indicator has errors. You really can't, you know, suppress that error functions, but they shouldn't really be called errors. But maybe one time in the future they'll switch that. In any event, it's just a notice that comes up. It says congratulations. You know, you hit your goal. It lets you know now that your daily drawdown limits are now in effect. You've already passed your rules as far as how much you're able to lose. So now your drawdown is in effect. It's like, woohoo, you hit your goal, so you could do one of a couple things, you know. You can continue to trade, but whatever your percentage was, as I mentioned, some people just have 0. Heck, maybe you want to give back 100%. So basically you're playing with house money. And if you lose it all, well, then you walk out the day, you know, with nothing, but you'll probably be disappointed. So I wouldn't recommend that. But the point of it is that you can set those rules. And if those are your rules, then you're the CEO. Those are your rules. And once your goals hit, the dynamic drawdown becomes effective. And then whatever that is, it keeps going up. If you're set to 0, it'll just stop instantly. And if you, as I say, you're 100%, then it'll give you back all of it. And don't forget, there's commissions in there too. So whatever your drawdown rules are, I've seen 50%, I've seen 0, I've seen 50%, 33, 25, I've seen a whole camarage of things. So, you know, again, you're the boss. So an example, as discussed earlier, the dynamic drawdown rules incorporated the circuit breaker. If you have the warning applied there, it'll give you the 15 minutes. If your first goal is hit, then you hit your second goal, you'll get another one that shows your second goal is hit. And here's just a little of the math, how that works. If your balance exceeds your initial goal of $500, you know, it's gonna give you a halt. And 50% if you have that on, assuming you're using 50%, you don't have to use 50%, but you can see the math here. So if you have $1,000 and your warning's at 700, which is 30%, then it's going to give you that warning. And this goes up. So for instance, if you have $1,000, you hit your $1,000 and you're at $1,000, it's $700 is 30%. But if you go up to $2,000, that's 30% of $2,000. So it doesn't come all the way back down to $700. It's 30% of 2,000, which would be 14. So it grows with you, the percentages. Now, if you get to the point where you don't want to give back 30% anymore, because let's say you're at the $2,000 mark, and I'm just using these hypothetical numbers, but if you're at a $2,000 mark and you don't want to give back 30% or 50% for the halt, that's too much. Well, you at that point, you would go to level 2 and you would make the percentage a little smaller. And that's where you do it right in here. So here's the settings of it. So if you don't want to use something, I always just recommend 9999 just because you're never going to reach it. So here's your goal. Here's $700 of warning, and there's your $1,000 halt. And then let's see, your level 1 drawdown is 50% is your dynamic drawdown. So you could give 50% back of that, and you'll get your timeout if you breach it. And then you'll be done altogether at 75%. So at the end of the day, you'll walk out with 25% less commissions and any kind of slippage. But if you go to, let's say, $1,500 now, well, you don't want to, if you don't want this warning at all, you're done with the warning, just 999 it out and you get it out. But now you're only willing to give back 25%. So this is where you would change it to the next level, because you don't want to keep the 70, because this is going to keep growing. And at some point you don't want to do 75%. You want to tighten that up. So at that point you would use this one here and say, okay, tighten it up. Or you could even say 0 in there. Say when you hit 15, you're really done if you want. And then the weekly drawdown is the same theory with the weekly drawdowns. And down here is include unrealized. This came with all those prop firms that have popped up over the last 3, 4, 5 years. And so if you're using a unrealized prop firm based on the unrealized orders, we added that one in there. It's defaulted to off, so it's just based on your realized. So when you get out of a trade, that's when it will take that value and then compare it to your rules and go from there. This is because I was dealing more in getting into algos and whatnot. Obviously the hiccups and everything, I didn't want to be stuck with the naked order. So I had the discipline manager. If you click that, if it finds a naked order, it gives it a couple milliseconds to kind of move a stop trail. But if it finds that a stop order got accidentally misplaced or moved, or or maybe you forgot to put it on at all, whatever the case is, it'll just shut the order down. And this is, I just scrolling down. This is the second page. We just keep going further down. Your daily stats, it'll tell you what your peak value was, your balance. These are all, to be determined at this point, so they're not in here. But and then you could, and down here is if you want to set as a default. So let's say now with all these copiers about, you can go ahead and set it as a default, and then that way when you go to the other account, which would be on, if you go backwards here, right here, it's on playback. If you use this arrow right here, you could have all your accounts. So if you have multiple accounts, you can go ahead and you'd have to apply the rules to each account. Now they may be different or maybe not, but if you're doing minis and your $1,000 drawdown, well, if you're trading micros on another account, then you don't want to have that as, because you'll never really probably breach it, and vice versa. I mean, if you had your micros rules set up for micros and then you'd switch to a mini, you'd be popped out in no time at all. So you got to, each account has to be set individually. So here are some of the things that we put in. Here's the whole screenshot as it is, just page 1, and then it just goes to page 2, so I can fit it on one screen. And there's the export. It's been around a little while. That's the last time we did some updates. Let's see what else. The drawback. Yeah, let's talk about a little drawback here. So our main obstacle in the discipline manager is that we cannot suppress market orders. That's a thing with Ninja that I know we've had for years, a little ticket in there, but it doesn't, unless there's a lot of people, and there's the ticket number if you want to go inquire about it, but a lot of people, I guess, don't care about that, and so we can't do it. So that means that we cannot suppress market orders. So if your strategy, or if you think you're going to beat the discipline manager, if you put on a limit order or a stop order, something like that, within a millisecond, discipline manager is going to take it off. If you've breached your rules, it's just going to take it off and say, your rules are breached, can't do that. And you're going to say, okay, I'll be faster. I'm gonna outwit it. And so you put on a market order. Well, all you've done in a millisecond or two, it's going to take it off. So the only thing you've done is created commissions and possibly even a slippage. And usually it's not into your favor. It's typical. So anyway, so just caution on that. If you have a strategy that continually places orders, then then the discipline manager will, on market orders that is, then the discipline manager will just keep popping them right off. So you have to kind of be in sync with that. Now there is one good thing that Ninja has. If a strategy gets closed, it stops the strategies. So if you come in and your strategy's off, it could be because this manager shut it down. So that's a good thing. I know I had a hedge firm a couple years ago. I don't know if they're even still doing it, but I know they had a couple licenses out there for all their computers because they were doing just that. There were a lot of algos. So anyway, how do we get started? So currently it's offered on a subscription basis, and the reason why I like the subscriptions because I can't tell you how many indicators and webinar things that I have and passwords for or whatever that just I don't even use them anymore. I mean, I can't even tell you where they all are. They're probably in my computer somewhere, the file, or maybe 3 computers ago. I just don't use them. So for whatever reason. So I feel that, you know, if you like it, if you continue to use it, it's beneficial, then just pay it, just like your phone. If you don't like your phone, you know, you stop the subscription and you don't have your phone anymore. But if you like your phone, you just keep paying for it because it's value. You've got to find a value into it. And there's an annual fee that gives you some savings, and then the monthly, because I see people all the time, you know, they'll be in for, you know, maybe 4 or 5 months, and then they'll cancel. And it's like, great, you know, because they've maybe overcome some demons or whatever the case is. And so that's the whole purpose behind it. And or if you stop trading, you know, whatever the reason is, you're going on vacation, whatever. So you just stop it. But then I've seen people come back though too after, you know, a little sabbatical for a few months, and now they come back and they start it back up again. So that means they were just taking a break, or maybe they just said, okay, I still need that manager. Yeah, so I don't know what the reason is, but you know, whatever. There is a 20-day free trial, so I would recommend downloading it. I would not start the subscription with the pay because it's a PayPal activation. I would not do that right away until you've tried your trial, because the subscription is going to start right away. So play around with it, put it on market replay, set some rules up, and then go bust them. You know, make bad trades and see what happens, and make good trades and see what happens when you breach your goals. So you know, play with them. And then it's very easy to cancel. You control. I don't even get involved in that. Just you control. You just go to your PayPal account, and there inside there is your subscriptions and your wallet there, and you can go in there and just with a few clicks turn it off, and that's the end of it. And if you want to subscribe again, you can come back later and just resubscribe. Now keep in mind the price might have gone up, but that's what it is right now. So how do you get it? So here's the home page. Up here is algos and indicators. So you can go there, and then the next page, you would come down. These are the ones I was telling about. There's the healer. Here's my first strategy that I have. There's people, actually there's a free one that I have in there because it's an old one. It's just that, it's based on ATR. A lot of people are still using it, and it's available. So have at it. And here's the indicator itself, but here's the strategy that actually trades based on those projections and based on your limits of whatever your ATR is, based on whatever you're doing. And the projections indicator is just on the chart, but they're kind of the same but different. The discipline manager is the one right here, is the one you want. If you want to watch some prior recordings, or if you want to rewatch this one, you can go right there and see an older version. And here's some, you know, other indicators that I have. The list is long. These are all indicators and strategies that I've done for myself with me in mind. Some I no longer use. Some I've incorporated in Helix. Helix is starting to get pretty big because I've incorporated a lot of them in there. But needless to say, in order to, and then you can go down there, the subscription, which I, again, don't do it, and here's the trial, so you can download the trial. But when you're ready to subscribe, you can go in there and just click this box right there, and it'll give you the options of, you know, the annual or the monthly or something. So you just click that, it opens up. There's a little video if you want to kind of see what it's doing, but I would recommend doing the trial first and go through that. And then for today, what we're doing is I'm just doing I've done this before, the special. it's going to be a 30% off limited time, and it's going to be as part of the webinar and being here right now, there's a discount button that I turn on the discount code page, and it's a 30% off. So I would recommend not going to this one here because that's going to be the full price. I would recommend going to this one I'm going to show you where it's hidden under the discount codes, because that one is a different PayPal button. However, that is going to expire on Sunday the 19th. So there's a little caveat to that, and that is you have a 20-day free trial, but if you go the whole 20 days, that sale price will be over. So if you want to take advantage of the sale price, you probably you got what, 4 days or 5 days to kind of take advantage of it, to play with it in the on market replay or on live market, whatever. So where to find that is under referrals. There is discount codes, and actually we have now a button up there that says discount codes. You can go directly there, but these are all, I started this from referrals that I had, all these prop firms that popped up, and this list it grows and grows and grows, and so all these prop firms are in there, and it kind of gives you a little song and dance of each one, or percentages or whatever they're doing, so it gives you a little idea here. But the very top one is the discount codes, and so there's I mentioned earlier, we've revised it so you could just go directly to there or to referrals, either one. But anyway, inside there is just basically a page that gets refreshed. Here's the link to all those referrals if you want to see them, all those funding firms. And if you want to get on the list, anytime this changes, we don't send out emails on things that are expired. We only send out emails on things that have popped up that are new. So we try to keep those emails down to a very minimum. But if you do want to subscribe, you just click on that button. But anyway, that's for the prop firms and all that. But further on down, we've got the webinar specials, and this is the button that you want to do to get the 30% off. So that's the one you want. And when you click on that, it'll just take you to the PayPal, and you'll sign in and whatnot, and it'll show you a 0 up there because it's 0. But if you click this little caret, you'll get this little box down here, and it'll say that it's going to start, right away. So this is what it's going to be. So again, try to use your trial first, and then, but by starting this, it'll be 0 initially, but then in there it's $34 after day 1. And then it'll redirect you to the page, and I will need the third-party ID, so I would recommend coming to here, and the contact form. It's just a little form. And as you scroll down on that, let me go back. Oh, I guess I don't have a picture of the contact form, but if you click on there on the contact form, just, your name, whatever, but a machine ID. So I will need a machine ID, a third-party ID. And that's something that Ninja started because of their Trade-Evate, purchasing of Trade-Evate. And so if you're using the newer version of Ninja, you'll sign on, and your license key and all that is up in your dashboard. The older version that I still use is that it's local on your machine. You just click the button and it pops up and it's local on your machine. You can go into tools and there it is. So like your license key though, that's how they had to change. That's the only difference between the newer versions and the older versions, is that license key is how you have to sign on into their dashboard to get into their so they can see who you are as far as if you're licensed to do this or do that. So that's, I think, about it. I don't know if there's any questions. I can never see them on here. But if you do have any questions or comments or whatever, there's the contact page that I mentioned before on the Trumper.com site. You can get me on Skype there. We have a Skype trade group that there's probably about 100 people in there. Just, it's free, if you want to come in and just trade like-minded people, just talking the talk. There's not a lot of talk on there, but if you ever have any questions or any concerns or just some, chit chat, then, that's what it's there for. Of course, you could email me, and of course you could call and leave a voicemail on here. So there's all kinds of ways to get a hold of me. Here's our here's our equity curve from COVID. I kind of like this, how we started out, sweatpants and coffee. So So anyway, that's how to get a hold of me. Anthony or Rob, I don't know. I'm not familiar with the GoToWebinar, so I don't know if there are any questions. But maybe.
Yeah, there's one question. Did you mention that professionals, including a hedge fund, is running it? I might have missed it, asked James. Do you remember talking about?
I did. Yes, there was, and I frankly, I think they still are. I don't remember anymore. But and I don't even know the name of the hedge fund, to be honest with you. But I just know they run it right. They had 3 licensed versions because they used it for the naked. I believe it was the naked order. Or maybe some other rules. I don't know what the rules were, but the point of it is I know they had multiple licenses on it because they had multiple computers running algos. And I do remember one time that I got an email from them, many months or a year into it, that it saved their little behind because I guess they run overnight or something, and something happened, and something got wiped out and stopped. But anyway, the discipline manager kicked them out of it, and so that saved them a little bit. So yeah, so that's what they do. I really don't know how big they are, but they had 3 licensed versions, so that tells me that. And I do know they were a hedge fund because I know they had a group of investors and whatnot, so I do know they were something like that. But it wasn't a hedge fund like a trading prop firm. It was just investors. So however they used it with their algos, because I know one guy was big into algos, so that's what that was. So I don't know, hope that answers your question. So I mean, it obviously it's there to, the whole game is that you don't need it forever. I mean, you have your plan, and you have your rules, and matter of fact, if you follow your rules, discipline manager, you'll never even see it. It'll never pop up. So you might want to check it every once in a while just to see if everything's there. You can look at the stats. It'll show you, like, at the end of the day, or anytime during the day, it'll tell you your peak performance, etc. But the point of it is that you would never know it's on until you've rather breached your goal, or you've breached your halt and it says no more, or you've hit your goal and it says, hey, congratulations, you've hit your goal and now you're drawdown. So if you stay anywhere in between that, if you have the discipline manager and you don't hit that goal, you'll probably never see it. And if you never hit your halt, you'll never see it unless you actually pull it up in a window in a chart. It doesn't go on a chart, it's just on a separate window. So if you don't pull the window, it's kind of like the output file window. You just pull up the file, or pull up the window, and you could shrink it down and put it on a corner of your screen somewhere if you want to see what it's doing. I mean, you can certainly have it on, but it's not necessary. So that's about that. So anyway, I think I'm right on time, and I don't want to overcome my welcome for the next presenter because I know everybody's got a busy day today. So if there are no more questions, I think I'm good.
Hey, thank you, Steve. Always love to have you on Traders Corner. Ladies and gentlemen, if your emotions are getting in the way of your trading, Mr. Steven Tremper of Tremper.com has the solution. It's called the Discipline Manager, and you can learn more by clicking on the link in the chat box or by going to www.tremper.com. His tools have been a game changer for so many traders struggling with overtrading and many other emotional issues that traders commonly face. Thanks again, Steve, for making our audience such a generous offer today and taking time out of your schedule to join us today. Come back and see us on Traders Corner, please.
Thanks much.
Hey, you're welcome. Thank you.